I do have 8:30 on my smartphone. I've learned how to turn it on. So all downhill from there. So I would like to call to order this Jefferson County Board of Supervisors meeting for March 3rd and would entertain a motion to acknowledge the minutes, except I don't see any. I don't have minutes. Do you have minutes, folks?
February 24th. I do. February 25th.
Well, all right. I don't have any.
Because they're right here if anybody would like to see them.
I got it. But I have it in my house.
I don't know.
He thinks she might want to read this. She needs to have it up here.
What got it?
Oh, because I put two cents in orange.
That's just what I've decided. There's two of them in here. I'll give these back to Susie. Here,
There you go.
read them. I've already read them.
So was that a motion, Susie?
Yeah, it was about 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
That was.
Last second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. And I apologize to people watching and sitting here. We really are on top of things.
Oh my goodness, I got a lot of people.
So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Thomas is here with us today.
Morning.
What's going on in your world?
Well, this morning we got heating out on the bridge. They're driving pile for the south abutment. They're just driving bedrock, so it's a pretty simple deal and go till it stops pretty much. So, last week they had some crane problems and, got that taken care of.
Test.
First thing this week.
Test. Test.
It's a little testing, I think.
Test.
It works. Yeah, shut him off.
And then the guys have been getting our belly dumps and trucks ready to go since we're getting this contract rock ready. They're hoping to start hauling next week. And blade guys have been getting some roads in shape, trying to, since it's thawed out a little bit last week.
How much higher was it than last year?
A couple dollars in most places. So I don't know if we just want to go into that. So we got our contract here for our 2025 gravel maintenance. So the 1275 there, you're seeing that's coming out of Gardner Quarry, and the price is so low there because they're trying to price out Cantera down south of Selma. So we were looking at pricing and mileage, and I think we're going to be able to, and talking to Chuck Manson, which is the Dow Stone, he's the rock superintendent, and he said that if we wanted to adjust some quantities to get some cheaper rock out of that Gardner quarry, we can. So I think we're going to be able to pull almost three of our districts out of that 1275 versus the 17 or the 1450. So the 1450 is out of the Dow's mine, but looking at the mileage, it makes just as much sense to drive 2 miles to the west than it does to go into Dow's and then back to the east. It's just as fast to drive to that Gardner Collier quarry than it does to the Dow's mine. So that's $1.75 right there. And then some of these other ones, we can go, we can take a lot of the tons out of Gardner instead of Ollie, and we can go almost all the way up to the Fairfield quarry before it's about to come pull out of Fairfield. So we should be able to get close to 15,000 tons out of there. So that'll help the bottom line pricing wise. It'll take a little bit longer, of course, but we were talking maybe it makes sense to hire another private belly dump and help with our guys, so we'd have 3 or 4 instead of 3 going, so.
Yeah, that'd be quite a savings.
Yeah, it's substantially. So,
I can remember when we were well under $11.
mhm. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
No.
I think not in 19, it was, quite a bit, I mean, it was quite a bit cheaper even then.
We used to, you can imagine how much rock we were able to buy, but we used to spend about $750,000 when I first came on board for
Mhm.
rock.
Yeah, which 5,000 tons is kind of, that's just what we felt comfortable with putting out. I mean, we're still gonna be putting rock down besides the contract rock too, because our graders themselves haul their own rock. But this is just to get a little bit better pricing for the tonnage that we can do.
Well, and maybe, we start pulling 10, 15,000 tons away from Dow's, maybe they'll be a little friendlier.
Well, unfortunately, Gardner is part of Dow's.
Oh, okay.
So all of the contract rock is going to Dow's, whether it's coming from Mount Pleasant, Ollie, Coppic, Fairfield, Gardner.
So obviously, I'm ignorant when it comes to this, but I don't understand how they can do 1275 and 1450 and everything else is 17 plus.
So that was kind of what I was getting at. They're trying to price out down there. That's the only competition we really have is Cantera. They're
Okay.
south of Selma.
Yeah,
And once you get up here around Mount Pleasant, Ollie, there's nowhere else we can even get rock.
right.
That's even close. So that's why they're doing that.
And I mean, I'm all for saving money, so don't misunderstand, but I have, I don't want to say this. I don't know what Cantera's costs are, but clearly, if they end up being successful in this, which we're taking advantage of it, and I'm sure others will too, then they shut them down and then so do we have a conversation with Cantera, say, hey, can you meet this?
Mm-hmm. I think we could have had that conversation had they put a bid in, but we didn't even get anything from them.
Okay,
Last year, Dow's beat them by, I think it was $3 or $4 a ton. So this year they didn't even
give it a shot.
out.
Okay. Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I get it. I
Yeah.
understand it. It's just, you and I both know, as well as these other two, where this is heading.
Yeah.
So. Anything else?
But so as the contract, if you guys want to sign that, that'd be great. And then otherwise, we've been out total patching some roads, fixing some or they went back and tried to do a little bit more fixing up there on Merrimack Road, 146. Some soft spots up there. And then so this, do you want me to give you guys this? This is the 5-year program. And nothing needs to be done with it right now, but he just wanted to make sure you guys had it in case you had any questions for him in the future. And that map kind of shows the different areas of what we're planning on doing in the next couple of years or next 5 years.
We always get, I appreciate it. Engineers always does this because we always get questions from folks out there about,
Mhm.
are you gonna do this? When are you gonna do that? And,
So, let me see here, Packwood Road, north of Brookville Road. That's gonna be a 4-year project, so we can spread it out. And I think, the first thing we're doing is gonna be doing, subdrains along the side, and then the year after, we're gonna be doing a patch project on that to fix some of the patches on there. And then I think we're waiting 2 years before we're gonna be able to afford the overlay on that. on Packwood between Brookville Road and Packwood. And then I know north of there on continuing on Packwood Road to the county line, we had talked about that pavement's in pretty good shape. It just kind of rides rough. So we're talking about doing a diamond grind to smooth that out a little bit. Right, make it ride a little bit better because the patching that they did, the DOT did, turned out pretty good. And I think if we grind that, it's gonna be pretty nice too. And then 1/10, he's kind of getting the feelings that he's not sure if that's gonna happen or not. The pavement up there.
So would we then, what's the word I'm looking for? Would we go in then and seal that?
1/10.
Yeah.
I think
Or
he was.
redo 125th.
I think we were thinking about doing something with 125th.
Well, butternut.
And then, yeah, whether we chip seal butternut or do something like that. And then 1/17th, I think we can possibly do some patching and do a chip seal over top of that with that. Where we put 3 or 4 inches of rock interlayer.
Yeah.
So. It's not on there, but that's kind of what he was thinking if 1/10 doesn't go through.
Are we going to do, huh? Well, maintenance redo, I mean, on those seals. Yeah, I didn't know whether
Yep, they have been. I don't know if you've been out there since they've been out. They've made it out there last fall.
Okay.
They still need touched up a little bit, but they are definitely better than they were.
I know that you guys did work on there between the bridge and the quarry.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and that's held up real nice because no one's driving it.
Yeah, well, that's how that works, isn't it?
We just shut all of our
Who
roads
would've
down.
thunk?
Yeah.
Roads stay together if no one drives on them.
Anything else?
I think that's all I got for you right now. But if you want to sign that
Do
contract.
we need to discuss and consider that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Discuss it.
Motion to approve then.
I got a question. Well, we'll second it and then I'll ask.
Discussion?
Is this what he's presenting to the board, to the Farm Bureau Board Thursday night?
Yes, I'm supposed to remind you that he is gonna be there, or he's gonna be zooming in Thursday.
You're
with
gonna
the
zoom in,
podcast.
okay. They'll get a copy of this.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second to award the contract rock to Dowd Stone. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
Josh.
Good morning.
Yeah.
So far.
Oh, I need to sign it. You have a report or is this?
I brought one with me, but it's not the original.
Does it matter?
I don't think so.
My signature or Dwayne's?
We need yours and his, I believe. Should be a spot there.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Thank you, Abby.
See, that's why we have
You
you.
guys would fall apart without her.
Yeah. See what you put in that packet, Josh?
I know, I saw that.
Yeah. All right. Small print, but I'm not impressed. How many copies do you need?
We do have one as well.
Okay.
I have another one here if you need one. Thank you.
Okay. I digress. Oh, look what I found. Move there now.
Who's on first? Right.
All right. Discuss and consider approval No?
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's fine. I don't really have much. Numbers in from February, we had 132, or yeah, 132 911 calls. 22 of those were transfers from Jefferson County Hospital. We billed out 195,997. Obviously, it's going to be a while before we get all that in. Bills and collections from January, we collected 55,527 so far for our January runs of the 133 billed out. So for January, we're about 41% so far. There's still some outstanding stuff there, but that's where we are at this point. Other updates, all three of us got our billing classes done, so we're pushing forward with that, trying to come up with our game plan before we go meet with Washington County and kind of pick their brains on what they've been doing. So we're going to powwow, I think, this week and just kind of ask some questions and kind of get a plan in place. Other than that, not much else to report. Still just working on all the little things, working on the training program still, and we got our 2 new hires. One of them started already for orientation. The other one's getting her scheduled to me here this week, so we should start her pretty quick as well. So otherwise, just pushing forward.
How was the ride on the 2016?
Oh, it was good.
Was it?
Yeah, I took it out. I think it's just the roundabout that's a little rough. I took it out on some of the side roads and got it up probably a little faster than I should have, but it rides really smooth in town. It handles well, so I don't have any problems with it at all.
So it might do transfers with it?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I think it's good.
okay.
No issues with it. Yeah, the sway is gone. It handles good, so.
You can talk to Melanie about that roundabout.
It really is like,
She did hear.
yeah, it's.
Oh, I heard you.
She's choosing to ignore you. Yeah, so.
Depends on how fast he was going around the roundabout. I think that's probably what needs to be asked.
Lower the center down. you go.
Normal emergency speed. I'll just say that.
Lights and siren.
But no, everywhere else it handles pretty well, so no issues with it. They did a good job.
Anything else?
No, that's all I got.
Anything for Josh?
Nope.
Discuss. Huh? Thank you.
Hmm?
Discuss and consider approval of letter of support for LWCF grant application for Cedar View, easy for use, Cedar View Trail paving project.
Yeah, that's
You
one
need
of
to
mine.
get smaller grants. Not dollar wise, but just Reader's Digest version.
Well, that's sure I could have.
Well, you could
wrote
have.
that all out.
Okay,
too,
yeah, good
and
point.
Abbreviated it
Yeah.
at least.
You're right.
So just to refresh everyone's memory, we have a plan to pave the Cedar View Trail from 32nd out to 223rd, 1.2 miles. And we've received 318,000 from a TAP grant through the DOT, which is a transportation alternative. It's a trail grant. And we need about roughly 800,000. We have part of the match locally, but this grant is another opportunity. It's Land Water Conservation Fund. It's a federal grant that pays 50% of what we're requesting, and we're using our match from the other, which is 144,000, which is money that the Conservation Board has. So we're requesting 144, and that will get us over, 550-ish. So, and then we have a couple other grant opportunities. We're trying to fund the thing fully before we proceed with it. But as part of that, the Conservation Board will apply for the grant, but they like to have letters of support in the grant package. It just makes it look more complete. Lets the people that decide know that we have communicated with our board of supervisors about the project, so.
Are you gonna write a letter?
I brought an example, I mean, I might use them to get a letterhead,
Yeah.
your letterhead and the right details, but. And it just be, basically you acknowledging that. You're okay with us applying for that
Yeah.
grant and the project in general.
Is there, and I'm just asking this because I truly don't know, and I just wondered if there were any refunds available, and B, can you even use refunds or something like this?
Yeah, the problem we've been having is there's several different, and we're gonna continue to apply. But like, there's a federal rec trail grant that we applied for, and that might have been a state one. There was like $3 million available last round. And there were $17 million in grant requests, so we're applying, but we're not successful.
Right.
On some of these, and I think the theory with this is if we can get this one, then in our future requests from these other grants, it'll be sometimes if you can show you have a bigger percentage of the money other ways, you score better.
Okay.
Like if we only ask for, instead of 500,000, we ask for 150,000 that we're matching with these other monies, it just looks better. So we got a little ways to go, but this is our latest step in trying to complete that funding. And REAP does have a trail, but it's equally competitive where they have way more asking than money available, so. It just takes time. I think eventually we'll get there and get that done, but.
So I'm sure you explored all this, and everything, but when you get approval for these grants, do they have to be used then in a specific period of time? I mean, does that?
Yes, and that can also, like the 318,000 that we successfully got wasn't available till 2026 to us, which 3 years ago, that seemed like a lot of time to get the other money, but now it's approaching, but it's also like some of the grants we applied for a year ago or 18 months ago, it doesn't look good that you're waiting. So they go ahead and fund other things. So it might help us on some of these that we apply for this year because it is coming up quickly, but.
So,
And the only other thing I would say is some of our grants, which I'm sure you're aware of this, have been affected.
Yeah.
By what's going on with the federal government. We've had money that we thought was coming. One of them's was frozen and now has been unfrozen, which is good news, but we have another thing that we're going for that I had an email I checked this morning that the money's frozen right now at the federal level. So there's some uncertainty with some of the stuff we're doing, but.
So we need a motion for a letter of approval. Is that what you're looking for?
yeah,
I'll so move it.
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Discuss and consider authorizing written agreement with Jefferson County Conservation Board of Supervisors regarding Mazdan Barns. So, had an opportunity to meet with, conservation Thursday, Wednesday. And, it was an excellent conversation, and, the Conservation Board agreed to our request to put Mazdan Barns under their umbrella, contingent upon, and I have spoken to Elizabeth about this, contingent upon a written agreement spelling out, basically saying And I was gonna ask the board's permission to have Sean and myself work with Elizabeth. But basically an agreement say, yes, we put it under your umbrella, but we're going to continue with the governor, they call it governance board, preservation committee, with Leon doing the maintenance and the upkeep and all of the things that we do now.
Why would you not use Tony Webb? Leon's not on that committee anymore.
Say it again.
Leon is not on that committee anymore.
No, I'm saying the preservation committee and Leon doing the maintenance and stuff on the grounds. There's a preservation committee. Tony Webb was there. That's what he called the preservation committee. Right?
So you're
I don't
also
know the
dealing
name
with
of it.
Tony Webb. correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay.
he was at the meeting.
yeah,
Leon and Tony were both there.
yeah.
Okay.
But just letting the conservation board know that, the situation as it currently exists will continue, and that we're not expecting any financial
Sure.
consideration from conservation or any of Sean's crew to go out and do mowing or whatever.
Are you comfortable with that, Sean?
Yeah, I think it'll be a good solution, and I think myself and my board, that was the, I would say hesitation is they don't want like a year from now. Say, well, this is yours now, you take care of it, and I'm not that that won't happen at some point in the future, but you know how things are right now, we're pretty lean and got plenty to take care of, and I think things are working well. This is more of a method to deal with the annexation and allow that property to continue doing what it's doing in the same fashion that it has been.
And I would like to point out too, that Doug and Melanie were there, and that Melanie has, what I see, amended ordinances or something, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but reflected the 350, the Iowa code and whatnot in the language that she's drafted.
Well, we had that earlier,
Okay.
but
Okay. So, so what I'm asking for is for the board, and that agreement would come before the board, before it went to conservation. Excuse me, before it went to conservation, but I'm asking for the board to authorize us to move forward with drafting that agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So Elizabeth, we'll work out a time with you. Okay. Thank you.
Sean, thank you.
Sean.
Aaron?
Come on down.
Feel like the price is right?
No. I don't do too much shopping, so I wouldn't be very good at it.
Yeah, I get it. So I guess basically what, at least speaking for myself, I'm not sure, I mean, I know where you're working as far as that part of it goes. We're just wanting to know, and you've got a whole list of things over here on the side on that.
Yeah.
Just wanting to know what's included in those dollars.
So each place, that's the treatment for each place per treatment. So 705 that's the total for all the places, non-taxed. So the biggest bang for your buck is number 2 and number 3. Those are probably the most common. That's your good weed and feed. I use a really high end fertilizer. It's 24% nitrogen, and then spray broadleaf herbicide to kill all the pests, the clover, the brown, or the creeping Charlie, planting any of those. Trefoil is one of the ones that we see a lot of. So those are kind of maintenance level if you want to keep the yard looking good. In the past, what you've been doing is working in aeration and number 1, which is the early spring fertilizer, and the pre-emergent. Pre-emergent just stops germination of any seeds that have still laid there throughout the winter, including crabgrass. Crabgrass is an annual grass that comes up, so it drops its seeds. They lay over the winter. We hit them with pre-emergent, stop any crabgrass from coming up in the yard and the turf during during the summer. It also works on any seed. So if he was gonna plant, I know he was working on the memorial up here. If he's gonna plant any seeds up there, any grass seed up there, I need to know if we do that number one, because I can't put anything down there. It'll stop the grass seed from germinating. So, in the past, you've been doing 4 treatments. It's kind of up to your budget, what you would want to do. If you only want to do 2, I would recommend number 2 and number 3. The aeration it's been a couple years since we've done aeration. That would be one I would recommend every 2-3 years. We don't have to do it every year, but every 2-3 years would help on that. The 2 and 3, the fertilizer with the broadleaf, again, like I say, that's the biggest bang for your buck. That's where you get the high-end fertilizer and the broadleaf herbicide. If you want to do 4, then I would say do the aeration plus the early spring fertilizer and pre-emergent. If you stayed with the 4 treatments, or if you want to, that's kind of what I need to know, I guess, is how many treatments do you want to do for the year, and then we can tailor it to what.
So does that include 4 treatments, that price?
No, that's per treatment.
Per
The
treatment?
705 is per treatment.
Okay, okay. So we did 4 treatments
In the past, you've been doing 4, 3 to 4.
Right.
We don't have to do 4 every year. Like I say, the aeration and you can work that in every couple of years. Last time we did it was 22. So we're coming up on the 3rd year. I'd recommend that this year with the 2 and 3, if you only want to do 3 treatments. If you want to do the 4th, that's where I'd pick up the pre-emergent. We've been doing the pre-emergent fairly regularly. So I don't see a whole lot of crabgrass out here. So you could skip that for a year or 2 maybe and be fine with that. It's kind of a juggling act between cost effective and
Right.
how well you want the yard looking, close to a golf course, but not golf course level, but.
Do you play golf, Susie?
I do.
Do you? See that?
Maybe not the courthouse.
Okay.
I donate balls to the wall.
Yeah.
A lot.
I don't even try. So then the $64 question is what is it that the board would like to do?
So I see this includes the Arts and Convention Center,
Yes.
which I'm still wondering why the courthouse is doing something like that for the city.
Well, and
that's my only, it's not what he does or this is, but I'm just still wondering. We're cutting back and everything's so tight, as we say, and we're cutting back departments and we're cutting things for different things. Why are we paying for this?
well, we can certainly,
And that has nothing to do with Aaron.
I don't have an answer to that in terms of, I would guess it just kind of, because we mow the yard, that it just, what's we're not looking for. Was a natural progression.
Yeah, so should we vote the people's yards too? I'm sorry.
Well, I've got my own mower, but Joe, I don't know. You sold all your equipment.
I still got a mower, but I'm not coming in town.
Oh.
I'm not for hire. I don't want to compete with these guys.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was just, when I say a matter of convenience, what I mean is that he's out mowing, he's across the street, and we just have always, at least as far as I know, he's just always driven the mower across there and mowed. I don't know that, I don't know if it started when Dave came on board, because I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't know. But I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, I mean, you certainly could strike that. I'm not arguing. I'm just asking what the board wants to do. If we do it 4 times a year, it's $2,800 and some change. If my math is right.
20.
That's if we do
All of
4
it, right?
years,
Yeah. If you do 4 applications, 4 treatments, whatever the term is. So if you want to go 2 treatments, and that's what I'm asking, whatever you guys want to do.
With the way things are so tight, I'd like to cut back to 2 treatments to see how things look. My suggestion.
And
I realize we're cutting out on his income.
right, and
We got problems here
If
too.
this business fluctuates
That's it.
with the weather, as you know. We pushed snow once this
You
year.
want to drop FACC?
Well, we're cutting money. They've had to cut money too, and I don't understand why we're doing that over there. I really don't. So I think we should drop that.
So what's your motion?
I move that we do 2 treatments and drop FACC.
Second that motion.
We have a motion and a second to do 2 treatments. Of what? What do we, what did?
I would recommend 2 and 3, maybe next year, rotate number 3 out for the line, or not for the line, for the aeration.
Mhm.
Stay on the weed control and the fertilizer. That's what keeps it green and looking
Yeah.
really good. And then that next year, be 4 years, working the aeration next year wouldn't be a problem.
So would you, we have a motion and a second I mean, would your motion then fall on what?
On his recommendations,
Yeah.
yes.
Would you
yes.
resubmit or something? So, because we don't have, I'm not sure.
Could you just write on this?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so what I'm looking at is, so the courthouse, that's 2 treatments would be $720, is that right? Okay. And
County attorney's office.
okay, now I get it. So we're basically,
Mhm.
so the amount would be $1,210.
Yeah, 605. For the total, for the 4 instead of the 705.
So for a total of 2 treatments at $1,210 total.
Which only includes the courthouse, the county attorney and DHS.
DHS, yes.
Can I say something before you guys vote?
Sure.
I will say that the city does, for the health department, they mow all the green space, so we don't have to hire anybody to mow in the health department. The city takes care of that, so I just wanted to share that with you.
And Chris, I appreciate you bringing that up, but I also want to emphasize that the FACC agreement is with FACC, not the city.
Yeah,
So
I'm just throwing that out there. We don't pay to mow any place at the health department.
If you did, what would you mow?
Well, there's that
Between the
strip.
sidewalk and that
There,
little strip
yeah,
right
there's a
there.
strip there and then around front, part of that front part.
Well, for
Fire
clarification,
Does the
department.
city help with any of that front part?
Yeah, they mow all of that. The city mows
Okay.
all of that strip and then around front with the fire department, which is the city portion. I just didn't know if you guys knew that and we're talking about it, so I just wanted to share that.
Thank
I'm
you.
not mowing, sorry. I could get a goat, but
I've got some.
no,
Put it-
no, you can't. There, you don't
Put
have
it
enough
right there.
setback, as we discussed earlier with the zoning.
for clarification though, we're not talking about stopping mowing.
Well, it's a publicly owned building. We'll put them
We're
into
just talking
view.
about not doing a treatment.
right,
Yes,
right. I
yes,
just
yes.
Well,
wanted.
that's another conversation
Yes.
because I don't like the fact we're mowing that for,
Well, okay, but I'm just, what this is here. is
I understand what
just
it
is.
specific treatment.
Yes, I understand that.
Specifically for that green card. Which is kind of clever considering we want green grass. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I hope.
Susan, you better do something before it really,
no, I hope not.
okay, all right. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So that's for the 2 treatments for $1,210.
Sounds good. We'll do that.
Aaron,
Thank
thanks
you,
for
sir.
coming
If you want that.
in, straightening us out.
No problem. I appreciate it. Thank you guys. so
Thank
much.
you, Aaron.
Is Mark on?
No,
Mark is on, okay. Because I think this next,
oh, I see.
discuss and consider paying Iowa Plan. Iowa Employment Conference invoice, okay, that's not. There it is, the other was what I need to talk to down below there. So this is, we discussed the, training for HR. And that's what this invoice is for. And, so you have it in your packet, it's for $1,010. And Shannon has written the line item. So this is what we're asking is, or what I'm asking is that we take this out of our budget rather than out of the auditor's budget, and that's the line item number that's on there for the $1,010. And that's for you and, Darcy.
April 2nd, is that correct? Do I
Second and
remember?
third.
Okay.
I see no problem with it, so I move to proceed with pay it.
So we have a motion, we have a second?
Sure can.
Second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. That was that one. Number 5. Discuss and consider resolution for subscription-based information technology agreements policy. My goodness gracious. What are we? GASB.
What's the next thing?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Oh. Okay, my bad. Hi,
Morning. So since we
this
have,
meeting has been running so smooth. No, say it. Go ahead.
starting in 2022, each county was supposed to set a policy for, it's our Tyler software, we have an agreement with them, so it's supposed to be reported as an intangible asset. So we just, we've been doing that, but we just needed a policy set in place for the county. Anderson Larkin suggested 50,000 be the, once we hit that, have it be reported, so that's what I put in the policy. And we just need it put in place for the county and signed.
So who are we reporting? I mean,
In our annual audit, financial report.
I would make a motion. Well, maybe I should read the resolution or at least purpose. This policy is intended to implement the provisions of the governmental accounting standards board. The purpose is for counties reporting on the accrual basis of accounting and the cumulative effect, if any, may require a restatement of beginning net position, fund balance, or fund net position as applicable. This means subscription-based information technology arrangements in existence on June 30th, 2022 will need to be reported as the beginning balance July 1st, 2022 for leases of FY 2023. Clear as mud, right? I would make a motion to approve.
So moved.
The motion in a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 How many copies do you need?
Two.
You need mine to sign. I wrote on the top of that rather than making.
Oh, no.
Here's me.
Okay. Having to stand in the corner. Okay. Here we go. Now, this is what we need. Mark number 6. Discuss and consider invoice from ICAP. Mark, are you on? Can you hear? Hi, Mark.
Morning.
I mean, I know what this invoice is for, and I know what our policy says, and so we're obligated by the policy. But, do you have any documentation that indicates responsibility on this? As far as payment? as far as who's responsible?
According to everything that came from the court when this was dismissed, it does say that the plaintiffs are responsible for all costs, but I don't know what that means exactly. I know that at one point you wanted to send this bill to Senator Dickey. I don't agree with that because he is a co-defendant and I don't feel is responsible in any way, shape, or form for this. I believe Senator Dickey's on this call as well. But that would be a good question for maybe Elizabeth regarding when costs are assessed, who actually is responsible for what.
We are responsible for those costs. I don't believe at any point that the court ordered that the plaintiffs were responsible for attorney's costs. It sounds like, Mark, maybe you have some different information than I do. Obviously, I wasn't defending the county in this action. That was Chauncey, but that is our understanding. We're responsible for them. Plaintiffs are not going to be paying them. That is the general rule in Iowa when there's voluntary dismissal, is that we would still be responsible for them. We have paid $3,800, and then this is the second invoice. We don't really know. There's some discussion back and forth with ICAP about what the total is. Obviously, we're responsible for 15%, but we have a phone call in with Lori to discuss some more particulars. But my understanding is that we are responsible for these.
Well, and I know that's what the policy says, and I'm not. I mean, I know we have to authorize payment because that's the policy that we have with ICAP, and I'm not disputing that. And as far as that part of it goes, and we will pay ICAP. Sorry. My question is whether or not we can seek reimbursement from the plaintiffs if indeed the court has ordered the plaintiffs cover it.
I think that would be a great question that you could have with ICAP because ICAP covered 85% of that cost. So they've got a little more dog in the hunt, so to speak. If they chose to go after the plaintiffs, and let's be honest, that's a very slim chance of getting anything. You're probably going to spend more than you're going to get back to begin with. But if they were interested in going after the plaintiffs, then maybe that would be something the county could consider. But the amount that's due as a taxpayer, I don't know that since you guys already budget that in, if I'm going to notice anything, and I'd rather it just go away. As the defendant, I am so beyond past this and ready to move on with my life and the life of this office that I really don't want to see it drug around anymore. I'd like to just see the bill paid and everybody move on. But I'm not the one who's making that decision, so.
Mr. Linkman did not file a motion for attorney's fees. I know that Senator Dickey's attorney did, and that motion was denied by the court. So I don't know what whether we would be able to get those attorney's fees back. I don't even know if we are past that timeline for a motion, but certainly that's a conversation as Mark indicated we have with ICAP.
Unfortunately, we can't fix stupid, but apparently we have to pay for it.
I will say at least we got one, right out of the gate, we did get one of the claims dismissed. So we didn't, have to go far with that first claim. But
yeah, that claim made as much sense as wiping before you go to the bathroom.
Well, and as I indicated, I realize that our policy requires us to pay, and I'm not disputing that, nor am I refusing to pay. I just wondered about whether or not the plaintiff was required to reimburse, and Mark makes an excellent point that ICAP probably would be the one that would subrogate that.
Okay.
So,
You're fine.
oh, excuse me. And I agree with your last statement too, Mark, that having to pay for certain things. But anyway, we don't need, I don't think, an authorization to pay this. It's an invoice and it's a requirement of the policy that we carry with ICAP. So we just ask Darcy to move forward on it. But I just wanted to have a conversation, see whether or not there was an opportunity to recoup. So that's where we're at, or that's where I'm. So if you would indicate to Darcy that we'll move forward. And Mark, your point also, I understand about just closing the door on that chapter and moving on. That's a valid consideration as well.
Yeah. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Media reports.
I think all three of us were at the farm show.
Yeah.
And
Did you post it as an open meeting?
actually, it was on our agenda.
Oh, okay.
It was on the agenda.
Come on.
We covered.
But that is a good question. It didn't seem like to me there were the same amount of people there as in prior years.
No, I agree.
But I think the people who were there, especially the kids, had a ball.
They were a lot of fun.
Yeah.
As far as that part of it goes.
Yeah.
And it, I don't know whether, I don't know, Pam Tillis came out, walked around and on, but she didn't while I was there.
Well, she's waiting till you left, I think.
I couldn't
Yeah, I'm
very
pretty sure.
agree. Yeah.
She went out the back door and she heard you were there.
Yeah.
Well, that's, yeah. She was actually out the back door there.
Really?
I saw her bus, yeah.
Nice. That's
So,
nice.
Nice bus. But it's nicer than my RV. I would trade her straight
Yeah.
across.
We did have a opioid meeting on Tuesday. It was very scantily attended, but we got a lot of stuff discussed. You know, I had asked everybody to talk about maybe what we could do. Chris, you would like to help me now? I know you would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure. See,
We just came up with some really good ideas that we're gonna put forth.
So yeah, this was from the opioid meeting on Tuesday. So, you guys voted to fund Tall Cop, which is will be 2 sessions of community education on April 29th. It'll be from 8 to noon. I've applied for continuing ed credit for health occupations professionals. I'm working with Indian Hills for that. And then in the evening, there'll be a community event at the high school from 6 to 7:30. There will be no continuing ed credits offered there.
Don't be
Thanks,
leaving.
Mel.
I've had enough. So, and the opioid settlement dollars are going to pay the $10 per certificate for the continuing ed, which will be really nice. I'm working on finalizing a flyer. I'm gonna have 2 flyers, one for each session. So I'll send those out after a couple people look at them and review that. You want me to go ahead with the rest of the?
Yes, would
Okay,
you?
yeah. So through the discussion Tuesday, we were trying to think of ways to make the biggest impact with the community. The hospital does a community resource guide. And we decided, we thought it would be a good idea to have to utilize some opioid settlement dollars to make some print copies, not a significant amount of print copies, maybe 100, where Deb is working on a quote with that, to place them in strategic locations. So then the more people that are aware that this guide is available online, then they'll go to the correct websites to get it. Like it's on our website as well. It's just the hospital is charged with updating the services
Sure.
on an annual basis, so that'll be good.
We'd
And-
already, we'd also talked about even putting them in the ambulances, so they had that information to ride with them.
Yeah, so then they could just hand one out, because you don't think about all the resources that the community really truly has in place. It is a little fragmented when like the people call the health department, and we're trying to give them phone numbers and somebody might be, driving with speaker and then they can't write a number down, all these things. So there's that. And then we, one of the members, Ken, he had a great idea of using opioid settlement dollars to fund a big display for health fairs or educational information that could be traveled around to different events or locations, and it would be housed at the library. And some of those big, you guys have seen them, I'm sure you saw them the other day at the farm show.
Yeah.
Some of those can be, $1,000, $1,500, something like that. So he was going to get some information on a cost and dimensions, et cetera, on what that would look like.
Which I thought would be a pretty inexpensive way to be able to move this around to different, at the fair,
Yeah.
at, events at the Sondheim, out here in the lobby, just something to be where most people could see it and have it move around.
So those were some things that we kind of discussed the other day. The meeting lasted, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that. Not very long. We got a lot of things accomplished. The big discussion though was Tall Cop, and
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that program, so.
And so y'all need to make sure you sign up for Tall Cop.
Yeah.
Unless, even if you're short, there's not a height requirement.
He is pretty tall because I've seen him. He's
Yeah.
6 foot tall. So, yeah. Again, April 29th.
Anyway, that meeting, we had a lot of good ideas. Abby took notes and
Mhm.
we did pretty well, I thought.
Yeah.
So,
We had set the dates for the other meetings
Yep.
coming up and what other things we might be able to utilize and expend the dollars appropriately for community and county events and.
get as much bang for our buck as we can with that money. So,
When don't misunderstand, but when I ask the question, that's a continuing source of money for a specific period of time? I mean,
no, I don't think
The
there's.
settlement,
Yeah.
well, Elizabeth can speak to, she's in charge of the fund, so to speak. So she's more involved with that, but it's different than a grant. It's settlement dollars, so it's yours to spend. There's not any restrictions as far as like federal funding issues
no,
like. to Sean's point.
I didn't ask it right, but I apologize.
That's okay.
So
No time limit.
do we have, is there more coming in?
My understanding is yes, and
Yeah.
there are reporting requirements, but I've been handling those. So far, it's been pretty minimal, but probably part of that is because we haven't really spent many funds.
Mhm.
The money is, there are in interest-bearing accounts. So, we don't have a timeline for which we have to spend these dollars, as Chris indicated. It's not a grant, so it's not like we are under any pressure. It's not like any of the funds that we've received in the past where there's a timeline for spending them. So it's outside of that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Joe and I were at the EMA meeting on, was it Thursday night?
Tuesday.
Tuesday? Okay.
Well, they start with a T and the end in a Y.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all
Yeah.
good.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Usually you talk longer.
Well,
Okay.
Public comment stuff.
Hey, I wasn't able to attend the opioid meeting because I was in Des Moines for an ISAC meeting. But I did get back for the EMS meeting Tuesday evening at the sheriff's office.
correct.
Tuesday,
So we were.
Tuesday.
We were at the sheriff's office.
Yes.
Good job.
And then on Wednesday, I'm on an advisory committee at the high school, and I attended that meeting, and I had a meeting with the RAC committee at noon on Wednesday. And busy. I had meeting on Thursday noon at the CoLab with this, they call Fraction Thursday, where different entrepreneurs come in and tell about their business stuff. It's interesting to hear what different people have to say. Friday evening, I guess I was co-host. I didn't realize that they called it a cancer listening session. Different people, it was at the library, different people come in and talk about their cancer experiences and stuff. And Helena Hayes texted me that she could not be there, but we had Representative Megan Srinivas, I think I'm pronouncing that right. She was able to drive down, and she had listened to a lot of good information that was put out and stuff. It was kind of, what do you want to say, heartbreaking to listen to some of them people talk about their experiences. And one man had a hard time. He almost broke down. He got through it, but he was having a rough time. And it was attended by about 40 different people. It was a good session. Then we did the farm show on Saturday. So I think that's all I've got.
And you brought the lollipops.
Them were for the kids. Did you get one?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. There was a lot of kids there, even grown kids that took lollipops.
Yeah.
It was kind of a hit for the kids. Some of them would see them on the table and their eyes would light
Unwrapped them
up.
all and tasted them and then wrapped them back.
That's why they were sticky. But
We're gonna have therapy.
yeah, the farm show there was a good attendance there. It was pretty steady, and
We gave away cars.
Did you? Yeah, that's right.
Cards.
Sheriff Bart give away little cards for banks.
The kids were really enjoying it,
And
putting those together.
Susie couldn't put one of them together. She didn't have an engineering degree.
And I thought one of you guys could help me, but
Oh, that was, that was a lot. So
Did you get one together, Lee?
no, I knew better.
you guys, that was a cute idea.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
So that's all I've got, Abby.
So I had, as we indicated earlier, met with conservation and discussed the Mazdin Barnes property proposal. And I was pleased with the conversation. Doug helped out a lot, as did Sean, and they asked some good questions, and I think we'll, moving forward, have a positive outcome there. Had 1015 Transit, pretty much straightforward. We got funding that we were seeking from state. I think I mentioned last month that the state in their infinite wisdom, which I use that term loosely, there's not much wisdom coming out of the state lately, but for some reason, the DOT can't seem to get it straight that we run the fixed routes in Ottumwa. And so the contracts that we have contracts with the state and with the feds. And so the state, they fulfill their contracts with transit, but for some reason they can't seem to understand that we also do the fixed routes in Ottumwa. That we took those over from Ottumwa a couple of years ago. And we had to, well, I shouldn't say we, Jay Allison, our transit administrator, made multiple phone calls and talked to I don't know how many people, trying to get them to understand that we are fixed routes in Ottumwa. And they're sitting on all this money, and we were in some financial constraints, and they finally released this money, but we are not comfortable in believing that it will be a seamless transition. We don't, they acknowledged, but we're still having an arm wrestling contest. I don't know what part of it they don't understand, but they don't. And then the other on the conversation is the veterans transportation. So to date, through January 2025, I guess I should say, we spent just under $98,000 on veterans transportation. Again, the largest user is Swampo County. Surprisingly, Wayne County is pretty significant, but part of the reason for that is that you know where Wayne County is on the western hemisphere, taking them to
They're pretty rural, yes, they are.
taking our veterans to Iowa City and stuff is pretty expensive. So we spent about $23,000 transporting veterans from Wayne County. Not that many veterans, but
Lee, I was just wondering how many of them go to the VA up at Des Moines?
I don't have an answer to that, but I'm sure that
yeah, I
they
just
probably
wonder
do,
what the
actually.
breakdown was for that.
Yeah, well, I can tell you there were, believe it or not, through January was a total of 11 riders, not 11 rides, but 11 riders. And that's different because when I tell you the number $23,000, you're going, 11 riders cost 23,000. That's 11 riders. That's not the number of rides. So next month we're going to have them start producing for the number of total rides. We are close to, very close. I signed some paperwork on Thursday at the meeting for the drive, which is our, what do they call it? Nonprofit 501c3. So we should be able to hit the ground running on that and accept donations. for Veterans Transportation. RPA, we approved, revision to an application for Wapello County, on a trail project. And Van Buren County is, we approved, a bridge replacement over Reed's Creek, which we had approved before, but they moved the project from FY 26 to FY 25, so same amount of money, just earlier, the project was done earlier. And that's all I had. Public comments.
I have some measles information.
You have measles?
No,
Oh.
I don't. I have some measles information. I want to give you guys an update from the health department side of things. So I just did a little research this morning. So Joe, to your point, before I start with measles. So Iowa is number 2 in the nation for new cancer diagnoses, only second to the state of Kentucky. So when you're looking and we're talking to people, Iowa is number 2. We don't want to be number 2. We don't want to be number 1. We want to be like
Number 49.
We want to be 49 or 50. So that is a huge blow to all of us as Iowans. So back to measles. We don't have measles in Jefferson County currently. If we did, everybody would know about it. To date, according to the research I did this morning, there's 164 cases nationwide right now. Last year, there was a total of 285. So if we're only in first part of March and we're looking at these numbers, it's significant. It is significant. And when you look at the number of individuals that are unvaccinated, that can create quite a havoc with this virus and this illness. You're probably going to ask me who should get vaccinated, or should I get vaccinated again? The guidance that we are currently following is the same guidance we've been following. So individuals born 1957 or previous do not need a measles vaccination because it's the assumption that you've been exposed or you had measles yourself, so you have natural immunity from that. Or the evidence of disease, meaning your mom or you remember having measles, you don't need a immunization. Or if you have lab confirmation that you have a positive titer, meaning you've had an MMR. You don't know if you had measles or you've had an MMR vaccination, which stands for measles, mumps, and rubella. You had a titer drawn, you had blood drawn, they ran the test, and then it shows that you're positive, so you're covered and you should not be at risk for measles. The vaccine is either 95 or 97%. I think out of 100 people that are vaccinated, I think there's maybe the possibility of 3 individuals that could go ahead and contract measles, which is not significant when you look at the numbers. This virus lives on surfaces and it lives in the air for up to 2 hours after somebody that tests positive for measles is in your environment. So anybody that's in this room, let's just say for this room, for example, if somebody was positive in this room, you need to be out of this room until lunchtime, really. And then all your surfaces would have to be wiped down. It's a respiratory or airborne droplet. So those are some things that people don't realize, the importance and the significance of this. We had measles in Jefferson County in the early 2000s. I worked at the hospital then. I wasn't in the health department then, but it was a significant issue because individuals don't stay home when they're positive for measles. Yeah, Joe, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify, I sneezed earlier.
You're fine.
I had the measles.
Yeah, you're good.
So
I'm
I
not
think
saying
I-
that you,
Okay.
I'm not saying that you have measles. I'm just saying, but to your point, that's a
One
great,
of those spots.
that's a great example
It
though.
is.
The carryover.
I mean, that's a great example. We're so migrant, all of us travel, all of us are in contact with lots of different people in lots of different places. So I'm just bringing it to everyone's attention. Again, I would not be doing my job if I didn't have this conversation. Anyway, check the status, check your age, check your kids or grandkids.
Anybody that's
What are you
itching,
digging about?
Yeah, well, it's
Please?
not that as much as it is. Oh, yeah, but it's, you know, the symptoms are pretty significant. And the thing of it is, it's not only the actual measles virus that you know, you have the skin issues and the other symptoms that go along with it. I mean, it can cause a lot of significant respiratory problems, can cause neurological problems. If a woman is pregnant and she's not had measles or the vaccination, she could have a miscarriage. So it's really pretty serious.
yeah.
So anyway, I
It
hope
makes you drink hot.
I hope I don't have to have this conversation with you all again in my board of health again, saying, hey, we have measles in Jefferson County. but it's definitely a possibility. And that's not to scare anyone. I'm just encouraging people to figure out where you're at, think about your children, especially if you're a parent and you have children that are not vaccinated. I want you to really think about this and the potential ramifications of that preventable illness. That's all. Thank you.
You.
So I'd like to revisit real quickly back on 1015 transit, and I apologize, but the other problem we're having, Susie experienced this too, because in fact, when she was on this, how long we've been dealing with this. Other contracts that we have with the state are for buses. And we have requirements. The buses have to, before we can replace them, they have to meet what's called or complete the useful life. And that's a determination that's made by the state, the formula that they have, miles, age, years, and so on and so forth. But right now, they're a year behind on bus contracts. And I don't know what's going on up at the DOT, but we just can't, I mean, they acknowledge them. Jay signed them, but we haven't, so we're sitting here on buses that are 350,000 miles. And we are, in our case, we also run cars and minivans and stuff, so we don't use a lot of the big buses, but even replacing, we've been going, because we haven't been able to get contracts and stuff, we've been purchasing lift vans from private entities and using local dollars. But we can't, I mean, these buses are incredibly expensive now, as is everything. What we used to be $65,000 per bus is well over $100,000, $150,000, and in some instances, depending upon if they're the big buses. And we use those big buses not only for our 10 counties and transportation in that regard, we also use big buses for the fixed routes. And I don't know what's going on with the DOT, but so any other public comments?
Yes, I have a public comment. Sheriff Bart Richmond.
Hey.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna request to get on the next available agenda to discuss and consider reimbursement for all legal fees and attorney fees after my recent win in district court. Thank you.
You got that written down? I want to make sure. So that would be March 10th. Yeah, well, because you won't be here on the 17th, right? Okay. Will you be back the 24th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just pretty tough.
Sitting in a wheelchair at home or sitting in one here? What's the difference? You guys will be kind that day, I'm sure.
You think?
No.
Okay.
You sit over there so I don't kick you.
Somebody else?
They did.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to.
Park behind you. So I wanted to say,
Hi.
huh?
Hi.
Today? Oh, I really like ties.
I'm right there with you.
I don't really like suits either. I wanted to say thank you, Lee and Sean, for getting together to help us navigate the waters of protecting monster. Yes. So that being said, does this put the Board of Supervisors' mind at ease about the urban renewal area agreement for the Sunrise Trails? Does that satisfy you?
Well, let me just say something. At the farm show, Mrs. Leathers came up to our booth and asked me what was going on. And I told her probably what might going to happen. She was quite pleased with that.
Okay.
So that makes me feel a lot better.
Okay. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that the city is in alignment with the county. And I think that
We border each other.
yeah, you're dang right. But I think that the more that we do this sort of work together, the better off we're going to be. And that way, I'd rather us align than butt heads, because it just doesn't work out well for and us getting along and making sure that we're moving forward actually saves us all a lot of money and saves us all a lot of headaches. And I just appreciate everything that everybody's been doing. I really do.
Well,
So,
I think it's been a positive process. I mean, obviously we had some concerns. The city stepped up and addressed those concerns or attempted to address those concerns. And again, I think Sean as well, and it's, my only concern overall was, and expressed this multiple times to Elizabeth, to you, to Melanie. And the same applies here as well, future councils and future boards can't be restricted by whatever a previous council does in terms of ordinances and whatnot. Contracts are different, and so that's what I was looking for, but Sean is much smarter than I am, and so he came up with a solution.
yeah, it was great. So, so can I put that on next Monday's agenda, or are we just good with it? Or do you want to go?
What is it you wanted?
The urban renewal, agreement for the
I
Sunrise.
thought we
Trails.
approved that.
After this,
It was contingent. They made a motion that they approved it contingent upon the Board of Conservation approving it, which they did. So, and the city already entered into the
Yeah,
agreement, so. I
so we're
think it's
good?
all-
everybody's, is there anything else you need from us?
Maybe a casino.
What do your constituents think? That would be a county referendum, you understand that, right?
Yeah.
Well, given the trouble that Cedar Rapids had,
The papers for you to take back.
and Riverside is fighting that,
Yeah.
they'd really fight us, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know. I would sure wish they'd just give Jefferson County something.
Well, I'll tell you where we held
applied
that,
for a lot of
where we
money.
held that farm show. If they had portable machines that they could take in and out of there, so when we had other things, they could take them out and then roll them back in when they.
It's an idea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Today's meeting has been so eclectic.
Okay, any other public comments?
Motion to adjourn.
Nope.
Loud
Oh, that's right. No,
complaint
that's right.
reports. Oh. And the amount of.
Shortly, I will get it. 46,002.51.
Yeah, $46,002.51.
Correct.
Do we have a motion to approve those claims?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
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 Thank you, everybody. Are we,
Gonna be over
hey,
in the
just real
office.
quick before, don't leave anybody. Are we having a budget session? I mean, it's on here, but I didn't know if we had.
Oh, I think I want to talk about something.
Okay, so we're gonna take a break and then we'll get back online for our budget work session. So come on down, come on back or whatever. Thank you. We're good? All right, welcome back, everybody. So this is a budget work session. Want to look at the wording. I don't know, there was, I don't know if you all got the email. Notice of public hearing proposed property tax levy. So which will be March 24th at 11 a.m. County Board of Supervisors will conduct a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year county tax asking. So the first floor meeting room, which would be here and will be on Zoom. Susie.
I want to talk about the money for county extension, not extension, fair board.
Oh,
We
okay,
used to get 22,000.
right.
You, looks like we're taking it to 11,000.
Budgeted 11,
That's not going to go over very well.
right?
Anything we can do about that?
Well, I think the reason we had that discussion and went that route, to be perfectly honest, was because they went a year without taking anything. And so the
Yeah,
question,
just right there. Tammy passed away.
right,
Tammy did everything.
right.
So they had totally forgotten they had to do it. I think Mike Filson figured it out and asked for it this year. I think he also asked Shannon if we could back up and do the 22,000 from the year they missed. And she said she didn't think so unless we gave approval of that. So I guess I personally thought it was in the past, you know, but I don't know. We're gonna get a lot of grief for that. And while I do understand we're hurting, we've also had departments not giving us any money back. Only 3 of them. And sure a lot of kids that utilize that fair. And I just think we need to reconsider that.
Well, I don't have a problem as far as reconsidering goes. The only point I would make, just for a point of discussion, not necessarily a point of.
Whatever you want to say, Lee.
Well, no, I was trying to think, I mean, when I say point of discussion, I don't necessarily mean that that's what I think we should do, but why we act the way we did.
Yeah.
Was because they operated an entire year without anything from us. And so that's why I think when we looked at that and we thought, well, okay, the conversation went that if they can operate without it, maybe we don't need to appropriate as much. That's why it ended up how it ended up. So, Joe, what's your take?
I
don't
would
think you were-
reconsider, but I would also like to see their financials, see where they're at and stuff. Cause we're cutting money. We gotta cut somewhere. So I'll reconsider, but I would like to see the financials too.
Well, I think one of the things that, and I just, for your information, and maybe you're already well aware of this, but we have cut over the years. And I know we cut them back from 26 to 22 a couple years ago.
That was when you were, the
Yeah,
last time you were supervisor.
yeah,
I know when several years ago when Dee was still on the board, she had said something to Tammy Jones about we were thinking about cutting this, and it just was an uproar. You know, Steve Smith was
Right.
all over that.
right. No, I understand that.
You know, it's just me, it's the kids.
So again, I'm not trying to be contentious.
No, it's
but I
fine.
want to have, because I'm a big supporter of the fair. And I know Joe is too.
Sure, I think we all are.
And we can appropriate whatever amount of money we want to appropriate,
Sure.
but just say we put it back to 22,000 just for the sake of argument. I think at the very least, that we need to let the fair board know that this probably is not going to continue.
I agree with that.
Okay, I mean, so right now, at this particular moment, looking at our ending fund balances and everything that Shannon has presented, the $11,000, if we decide to go that route, the $11,000 is not gonna make or break us. What I'm saying is that, the point I made the other day talking to that Mr. John Bain,
Who is, for the general listing, is the guy with the podcast.
yes. The point I made to him was, we can cut the 20,000 here and the 10,000 there and the 5,000 over there. And, we can come up with $60,000-$70,000. And so we've cut Masdam Barnes.
Yeah.
We looking at maybe not doing anything with FIDA. There's $7,500. But my point is that we can cut all of those. And they're not insignificant to the entities that are getting cut, but they're relatively speaking insignificant in the total budget context. But by the same token, if this board or a future board in the next couple of years has to make those tough decisions and say, okay, we have to cut somebody from roads, or we have to cut somebody from the jail or the sheriff's department, whatever the case may be, we have to cut personnel.
Yeah.
We can't be giving the Fair Board $22,000.
You know, I'm not talking about in the future. I'm
No,
talking
no.
about the fact that Tammy Jones wasn't around to
Yes,
tell them to
I
get
get
the money.
that, but what
Finally
I-
figured out, just let me finish.
Okay,
He figured out they came and asked for it. Shannon said, no, probably won't. If you ask for last year's, you probably won't get it. And I agree with that. But I just think Joe's right. We need to at least look at what they're spending money on.
right.
I know they've got some money because Ed Felger gave them some money but that's for the track, that racetrack.
Right,
Yeah.
okay,
So that can't, but I just don't know.
right. No.
I just
and
want to be fair.
I don't have any issue whatsoever supporting the fair. What I'm simply saying is that whatever the board decides to do
Mhm.
is not gonna continue into perpetuity, and the fair board needs to understand that there's gonna come a day sooner than later that they're not gonna get anything.
And I think that's something we need to say to everybody.
Right.
No, I totally agree with that. But the first step would be to have Mr. Filson come in and show us the money.
And I don't want it abbreviated either. I want a full report.
So which one of you is gonna reach out? And invite them to next week's board meeting, because you're not gonna be here the week after.
No, I think we both should do it.
Why? You're capable. Don't
Not
dump it on.
near as capable as you are.
We just call and you tell them you're on extension council.
I am, but that's
Okay.
not fair board.
You're the one that's appealing it. You take care of it.
Okay.
You're the one that's questioning it.
Slapping.
Yeah, well, then if I'm not
Don't
gonna,
pass the buck.
Joe, to tell you the truth, you're the one wanting to fine tune. I just was gonna say, come and tell us what you spent, what you needed for what. So I wasn't going to do that.
I'd like to see it.
Well,
Well,
so would I.
And so, do we?
All right, if you want me to, Susie, then I'll go.
I just think it'd be better for them to hear from both of us. That's all.
Okay.
So my question then is, do we do it in our regular board meeting, or do we do it in a budget meeting after?
Give him a time to be here so we don't have to fit through the whole meeting.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Is he employed somewhere through the day? Or-
I don't know.
He is.
I think so.
Oh, where's he work at, do you know?
I think I wrote.
Agri-plastics.
Well, it wouldn't have to be him, any member.
Right, as far as that part goes.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna, since you're both talking about doing it, why don't you determine whether or not it's a regular meeting or a budget meeting afterward?
I think we need to do it in a budget meeting.
I'm sorry?
We need to do it in a budget meeting because that's what it's about.
That's fine, but what I guess I should say more, I'm thinking, I'm thinking the 10th. Otherwise, we're gonna have to push it out to the 24th.
Yeah, but we need to pay attention to Shannon's timeline.
Right,
too.
and that's my
Yes.
point, so.
I think the 10th is the only day we can do it,
Okay,
unless we're having a board meeting
So you
before
just
that
need
about
to let
budget, and that means Abby will have to
Abby,
say.
know if there's a specific time that that whoever comes to represent the fair board, and you're right, it can be anybody from the fair board.
Yeah,
Um,
Lee, I just think people need to know we're trying.
sure, no, I don't have any issue with that, and I don't. When we went through, just so everybody knows, when we went through the budget and we started scoring things, I don't like to use the word scoring, but filling in the blanks as far as the amounts that we were going to, what we're going to do, at that particular moment in time, when we were doing our budget, we didn't know what the ending numbers
Right.
were looking like.
Right.
Now, I will tell you that absent them coming back and asking, I would not have considered increasing that amount any more than if I could have cut the Fairfield Public Library. I would have done that as well, because I think that those are things that we need. You guys know this, and I know you know it, but I think that the people that operate in those worlds need to understand that we're gonna have to take a knife to a lot of that stuff. But
I agree.
we'll find out what they've got to say, And, you know, and we may restore it to 20,000 or to 18, or maybe go back to the
Right,
22,
right.
whatever.
You know, Lee, I want to say something. I was at the library the other night, and I could not believe the number of parents with their kids coming into the library in the early evening. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Which I know I'm kind of like you. I'm stuck on that figure. We have to pay the library.
Yeah.
But I can see it sure helps the kids.
Well, and I think the question is, at least one of the questions, since you're talking about the Fair Board, I think that the library, somehow or another needs to track how many actual rural users we have that use the library. And, you know, we don't, I know I'm old school, real old. I don't even know if they teach kids how to use a card catalog anymore in school. Used to be.
You search their website.
Yeah.
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 I want to say I was there Friday night for that listing post. Went in there 4:15, and then we kept the door open. I was facing the door. I was amazed the amount of parents coming in, children.
Yeah.
In and out of there. Wow. I was surprised. I think it's well used. I really do. When my girls was growing up, Marianne went there what'd you get a book for 2 weeks? She'd bring home a pile of books.
Yeah.
For the 2 weeks, read them to my daughters, take them back, get another pile of books. She just constantly done that year round. So I think it's well used, but I do know the city cut quite a bit out of their budget too.
Did they?
I think they went from 50 or 80 some down to 50.
And I know the Carnegie Museum got hit too.
Yeah, they did.
And I mean, this is the fallout from,
Yes, it is. It is.
but we have to deal with it, as you all are well aware of, and I know you know that, and I know you have. But there's nothing wrong with, you know, revisiting and having a conversation and seeing what's, you know, we just have to have the hard conversations.
Yeah,
Giving this kind of money to them, somebody should come and appeal and present something.
Yeah.
We're gonna get
Well, at
that.
one point in time, this board gave doggone near $10,000 a year to Milestones.
To who?
Milestones.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we cut that out.
After it was the senior center.
While it was the senior center.
Yes, I
Really?
remember that.
Because
Yeah.
back in the day,
Because you see, at the
Milestones weren't
time,
even there.
the fallout, I was on the Milestones board. The fallout from that was the senior center was getting $500 or $600 a month rent from Milestones. And so we were paying Milestones just under $10,000 a year. And of course, they were giving $6,000 a year of that to the senior center, and we were contributing some to the senior center as well. So we didn't get too sideways on it because it was basically coming back via rent.
Sure.
To the civic center, or to the senior center. And then one day, Milestone said, hey, we're not paying your rent anymore. And so when we would get those funding requests from all these different entities, and we got it from Milestones, and I told Milestones, I said, I'm not coming to any more of your board meetings. And the Board of Supervisors took the money that we were giving Milestones, gave it to the senior center. And so and Milestones has cut in half the amount of funding for transportation for seniors. So, you know, that, and I get it, I understand it, but the point is that they face the same issues that we face, and the city, we funded a lot of entities for a lot of years. Because we had the ability to do that. But because of the way things are being done and the request from constituents to reduce their property taxes, you start with I don't want to say that they're the non-essential services, but you start cutting in those areas that maybe you don't see quite as critical as putting rock on a road or things of this nature. But eventually, you're gonna get to those guys. You saw it today in $17 a ton for something that we used to get well under $11. And that's only going to, once you become a captive audience to one entity.
You have no choice.
Yeah. And so anyway,
So are you saying we should look at some of the other things that we haven't cut and cut some more from the departments?
well, I think that how do I want to say this? Making cuts for the sake of making cuts that aren't efficient. We're going to get to a point where I think what we have to do as a board and is we're going to have to sit down and say to ourselves, what are we willing to lose? Because I don't want to put the cart before the horse in terms of, the legislature may see the error of their ways and make some amendments to their thought process, and maybe not, I don't know.
They're gonna have to.
But as Shannon indicated, for us right now, we don't kick back to 32 cents until we're required to get that ending fund balance built up, or if we can. We also know that the costs in general basic are going to continue to rise. There's no question about that. Just as everything else does. So then we look and we say, okay, hypothetically here, this is just hypothetical, everybody, it's hypothetical. So we look and we say, okay, we're putting X amount of tons per mile of rock on a road. Okay, so we're gonna say we're not gonna be able to buy as much rock, say 5 years from now, if things continue the way they are. So now the question is, do we put the same amount of tons per mile, just not as many miles? Or do we put less tons per mile, more miles?
They've already cut down the tons per mile.
Right.
Now they're gonna have to take that salt shaker and cover up part of the holes.
Well, so
Do it less.
but these are the decisions that are gonna have to be made. You may, and I said it in the podcast. Again, this is just conversation. This is not anything that we're considering. It's just okay. But if you were to cut a maintainer route, so you've got 7 routes of somewhere between 80 and 100 miles. So if you were to cut a route, you're going to save $100,000 a year. And you're going to take that 20 or 25 extra miles and you're going to put it in those remaining 6 routes. At 8 miles an hour, moving snow on 800 miles of road, it's going to take a lot longer for that maintainer operator to get past Joe's house because he or she's got 20 more miles to cover. And that's only one pass. So, it's not too. So my point is that, yeah, we're going to save the taxpayers $100,000 by eliminating a maintainer route, but they're not going to get their road plowed in front of their house as soon as they were getting their road plowed.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, we need to go back, which is what Van Buren County is likely going to do next year, is they're going to go back to the voters and say, okay, the legislature says we can raise our levy, but you have to approve it. But if you don't approve it, we're going to lose this, we're going to lose that, we're going to lose this. These are the things that we have to document as a board, or whatever board is setting here, to be able to make the argument to the people. We had a gentleman in here the other day, real nice gentleman. And you could tell with the conversation that we were having, wasn't particularly excited with the closing of the bridge on Palm Boulevard, as opposed to having a water crossing in there. This is one of those casualties, if you will, that comes from trying to be cost efficient, using the funds that you have at your disposal Wayne is doing a good job in that regard. And this is the most efficient way. And it was good questions. He asked great questions about, well, how much money did you spend on rock for that 3 miles, whatever it was? And those, and upgrading the road, which he was right, was nothing more than a cow path prior to the upgrading of the road. But in the long run, your dollar's ahead. And that's how things have to be approached. So we go back to the Fair Board issue. If we have the ability, which I think that we do, we might, after having the meeting, and if we're feel good about how they're spending the money or whatever the case may be, and we restore that. But I think at the same time, we have that frank conversation and say to whomever's representing the Fair Board, please understand that this likely is not going to be
Yeah,
sustained.
no problem doing that.
Said preparing, and I don't want, I hate this notion of, doomsday or any of the rest of it, but it's a poor choice of words, but there's trade-offs. If we're going to cut your expenses on one end, meaning the homeowners and the business owners and stuff, we're gonna cut revenue or
Services.
well, if we're gonna cut property taxes.
Oh, okay.
Because those costs, even if we weren't to cut the services, those costs to provide those services are going to go up exponentially over the years. We just saw it today, $17 a ton for rock. That's not going to go down. It's not going to go backwards anytime soon. So, I just, I don't know.
How many quarries have closed within a 30-mile radius of here? In the past 10 years?
We used to get 3 rock bids.
Rome,
Yeah.
Ollie.
Well, let's see, Dow's owns
Dallas,
Ollie now.
got Ollie. Yeah.
See that, so we're taking away the
And our
their
own
competition is
right,
shrinking.
and our own quarry,
Yeah,
Wynn's quarry.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
It's the same way with cement. Dow Jones Ideal now.
yeah.
And, Shipley come in and tried. They cut their price so much, run him out of business. Now we've got one out on Brookville
Yeah,
Road, and
yeah.
there's a lot of people that has woke up to the fact to do business with him instead of,
and I personally, I think that's a great thing.
yes, yes.
Yeah, a little competition doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of which, just, here's the other thing. We have potentially lost another business.
We did.
No,
lose it.
late. No. I was in here the other day. I asked. I ain't the same thing on here. No, it didn't.
Okay, that's good news.
You're talking Harrison's.
I don't want it out over the air.
So, and we talk about the urban renewal plan and the building of houses, which I think is great, but we have to have people that fill the houses, and to have people that fill the houses, you have to have jobs that pay a wage that people can afford to make house payments and whatnot.
Right.
So, one doesn't necessarily go with the other, but you gotta have the other make the one work. And I'm not sure where that's gonna come from. So anyway, I digress. So yes, if you all wanna, and then let Abby know.
Yep. Do you have his phone number?
I have to look. I could call
I
Courtney.
don't have.
I could call Courtney out.
Okay.
Anything else for the good of the order?
Well, I don't know. Speaking about competition, we could need another place that has better biscuits and gravy.
I haven't even had mine today.
You haven't?
No, I had biscuits and gravy last night at home.
Oh.
But it was canned biscuits and canned gravy.
Oh.
But one of the biscuits I put apple cinnamon jelly on, so it was good. From the Dutchman store, which made it better.
Yeah.
It's probably Smucker's, but it says Dutchman on it, so it makes it better.
Oh dear.
Anyway, I like going down to that new store, just be there
I like it because they got a coffee bar now where I can go and sit.
Yeah.
Always before, I'd walk through and I'd go sit in the pickup.
Yeah.
We've been there twice, and Marianne's worried about me. I'm sitting over there having a cup of coffee, working on my phone.
I can't believe you turned her loose in that store.
Oh, I always did. I'm not a shopper.
I didn't
Well,
say
there's a
you
bigger
were.
store now. There's more stuff to put in the giant cart. They don't have the little cart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know.
So,
And I always talk to somebody there about something.
yeah. No, I like it. And I may go down there just because I like it today. I don't know.
Well, I talked to a couple that drives from Rathbun every week just to shop and eat their lunch there.
Huh.
They like the sandwich they can get there, so they do that once.
Oh,
a
their
week.
sandwiches are great.
So,
So I want to remind everybody that's online, that's maybe still here, that we will have our proposed property tax levy public hearing on, I was gonna say July 24th, on March 24th, at 11 AM. And, so that we can, set levy rates. And then we will be meeting next week with somebody from the Fair Board, to review the funding question for the fair.
Oh,
And if we don't have anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
I did that 10 minutes ago.
Did you? I must have missed that
Second.
part. Okay,
Second.
so.
Shows how much we listen to you.
Hey, you know what?
Yeah.
You guys are lucky to have me.
I know. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in
Quickly
favor say
adjourn.
aye.
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 Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.